How's my hair?
Your hair was great.
Nobody cares.
How was Green Drinks for you?
Oh, it was spectacular. Yeah, it was my first time coming, and my throat is totally ratched because it was so loud. It was so packed. I spent the night yelling to be heard and having conversations with people. It was amazing.
So good.
I was stunned at how packed the room was, and really inspired. I got an email from somebody who's in her 60s saying, we would really like somebody from Slow Food come and talk to us. We're a little concerned that this generation just maybe isn't into food the way that we were. And I reflect on groups like this, and tonight was just a shining example of it, just really heartwarming to see how impassioned a generation is to say the way that it has been is not good enough. That was awesome.
And so what's your project?
I'm with Slow Food Edmonton, which is an international organization of which Slow Food Edmonton is a local branch. And we do essentially the same thing that everybody else does, but we report it to the rest of the world, and we recognize this part of the globe and say that we have a special role to play here. And by we, I don't mean Slow Food Edmonton, I mean we as Edmontonians and Northern Albertans as stewards of this part of the world.
What does slow food mean?
Slow food is a counter movement to fast food. So it started in the late 1980s in Italy, and one of the best stories, most colorful stories is sort of generated in the late 80s when near the Spanish Steps. If you're in Italy, if you've been there to the Spanish Steps and you look at the steps, just to the right there's a McDonald's. That is arguably the first McDonald's ever built in Italy. And there was a group of people who share a philosophy very similar to the group of people tonight at Green Drinks, who believe that we can do better than that, who believe that what is grown and what is shared and prepared in Italy is a really unique thing, and we shouldn't dilute it or homogenize the flavor or any of it. And so they actually gathered en masse in the Piazza di Spagna with bowls of penne and tomato sauce, and they marched on this McDonald's, and they created an organization that is the counter movement to fast food, which is to say slow food. And the fundamental philosophy of slow food is that every person in the world has the right to good, clean, fair food. It means a lot of things. It means environmental sustainability and biodiversity and economic viability. It means knowing how to grow foods, knowing how to share foods, how to prepare, preserve, and really just, again, honoring what we can grow here and like looking at the lowly beet and saying, yeah, I rock that beet. I grew that in my garden, and I'm going to make a beet salad, or I'm going to roast beets, and I'm going to share that with somebody. And I know that that's an important part of my role as a food historian and as a food conversationalist in the world. And so we create, Slow Food has created this thing called the Ark of Taste. And essentially it's modeled after Noah's Ark, where we're preserving things that we all know today for the future. And so there are about 170, just under 170 countries in the world that are involved with slow food. And within Canada we have over a dozen, we call them conviviums, which is an amalgam of Italian words, convivere, which means to live together. So we have a local convivium, and there are over a dozen in Canada, and we each have to identify what is unique about this place that we could contribute to the Ark of Taste. So we've contributed things like red fife wheat, or Tamworth pigs, or Saskatoon berries, and we take those for granted. They're part of our everyday, but that's our unique place in the world's conversation about food. And so that's what we're about.
And what's coming up next for you guys?
Coming up next is a kind of a low-profile event, but one that I'm really stoked about. And I got, it's actually 5 volunteers from within Slow Food, who are some of Edmonton's most spectacular women chefs, have agreed to teach a series of 5 cooking classes for a women's shelter. And so using local foods and their own local understanding and beliefs around local food to actually teach about what things can and should taste like and how do we use local foods. And the idea is that each one of those classes will focus around a central ingredient in a celebratory / Christmas meal, and we'll end up on Terra Madre Day, which is an internationally celebrated slow food day. So we'll end up with a community Christmas meal, and in the process come together with a group of women as a community and empower people who may be at their most vulnerable point in lives economically or emotionally, and it's just an opportunity for us to build relationships and some commonality and community and celebration around food.
And if people want to find out more about you, how can they do that?
They should go to slowfoodedmonton.ca or follow us on Twitter at slowfoodeg.
Awesome.
Thanks for inviting us. I don't know what else to say.